Por enquanto não, tá bom assim. So, um, yeah, as I was saying, I've been doing this for I think this is the ninth episode.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, I've been having people, all sorts of like people that I've worked with, people that I know like fairly well. You remember Paulo, my good friend
Yeah.
Bogosian?
Because yeah.
He became like he did like during the pandemic. He did like masters in cryptocurrency. So basically, he's going around giving lectures about Bitcoin and stuff like that. So I had him
Fair play
over a
to
couple weeks back, and we spoke like 2 hours about crypto, which was great, you know.
And you went cross-eyed trying to understand the blockchain and all of these different currencies and like the values and the projections of what this is all going to become, and just left more confused than you started the conversation.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess the most confusing part for me was about the minors and stuff like that, but then it all made sense a little bit because the whole idea of it is to be decentralized, and they had a whole bunch of people that have to verify the transactions instead of being like this gigantic mega computer. You know, it's like which one like
They're working on
Zuckerberg
it's
would
pretty
control. You know,
yeah, it's pretty exciting where it's pretty exciting that all that technology. There's a company that I got involved with 2 years ago. It's a small company called Emanate, and they're basically they're like
M&A
a
as in
music.
mergers and acquisitions.
Well, I guess so. Emanate is EMANATE. Is it's like a music streaming platform essentially where you get paid instantly for artists get paid instantly for the music that gets heard, or the portion of the music that gets heard. You can actually see at the moment they've got like a script that goes on at the bottom of the website that shows the transaction of, say, like the last 6 seconds of music that's being played, and it shows that the money is getting transferred into the right holder's wallet straight away, which is a completely different to how the current music industry works, or the music industry that we're all used to, where, for example, a song that I can make that you go and listen to in Brazil, that I get a 0.0006 reais per play. I get that payment. Well, depending on where it's played, it can take up to 2 years to receive your money. It's pretty crazy, and that's one of the reasons why.
Or to have like a big publishing company chasing this money around the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what happens. There's lots of different. There's so many middlemen involved in the music industry that have a role to play between a royalty and ending in my bank account. There's so many. They're like whatever. The portion of that money just gets divided by different people, and it ends up. I'm the last person to get it. It's pretty interesting, but I think that's going to change in the future. There's technologies like what they have in Emanate. Oh, sorry, the last thing that they have in it is built into the technology of the site is a thing called a smart contract. So it's a contract that outlines the terms of the agreement for the song. So that, say, if I own 50% of the song and the singer owns 50% of the song, immediately within that smart contract, it takes the money or the royalty and divides it into 50. Divides it 2 ways and gives one portion to me and one portion to the artist. Again, cutting out the middleman. and making direct payments to the rights holders. It's clever, but it's such a young technology, and it's going to take a long time for these things to truly be adopted, because honestly, because it works really well and it's challenging to the existing music industry. So
Yeah, I guess it's gonna make a lot of people mad. A lot of jobs, a lot of job descriptions, and it's like, oh, I am special director for sub publishing, whatever. If you
yeah,
do
yeah.
something
I mean,
like
it's
that, those jobs are going to be gone.
yeah, yeah, but it's I don't know. I guess there's positives and negatives to all the different facets of this music industry. But anyway, it's kind of that's great that he's got really into that crypto stuff. I mean, I only have like honestly a relatively loose understanding of it. It's pretty complicated, and I just don't have the patience to truly understand all of the intricacies of the cryptocurrencies, and I spend hours a day making music. But at the end of it, the last thing I want to be trying to understand is how to hook up graphics cards to a computer and be mining,
Yeah.
mining cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. So
I mean, I think for what I understood about it, it's like basically bottom line is that you have you have to be in it somehow, in a proportionate way that's not going to hurt you if you lose all the money you put into it. But if you don't, say in 10 years from now, you're gonna you say, man, I should have gone into that like 10 years from now. But if you lose the money, it's like, oh, it's like I bet and I lost, so but
yeah,
that's what everybody tells me.
I read a statement. I think it was by Warren Buffett. It's like it was something along the lines of the stock market rewards the patient investor. So anyone that's looking at short-term strategies, you have a far higher chance of getting your fingers burnt. If you look at things as a long-term investment, if you buy it and believe in the journey of where it's going to go and have patience, you're not worried about this, because at the end of the day, once this all levels out, really it's going like that. You just got to wait for wait out your time,
Yeah,
wait those years, and
I mean, because Bitcoin took kind of a dive right now, and everybody started panicking. So it's like, man, just take it easy. Put the money, forget about it, and see what's going to happen in like 5 years from now. My guess it's
absolutely.
going to be worth a lot more than it is today if it follows the trend that it's been going.
Yeah, and it's not it's a limited resource as well. It's like it's not it's this it's only going to well it's most
Exactly. It's
likely to
like
just
gold
go
or
up in value.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, how are you?
So, man, I've been doing great. Besides the pandemic and not be able to make money,
Yeah.
it's
Well, it's
but
really
it's
hit. It's really hit Brazil, hasn't it? It's been a bit it's not been very enjoyable to. Almost hit everywhere, but it seems to have been particularly difficult down with you guys.
it has because it's become so political here. It's not just the problem itself, which is really bad. But it's kind of this political war between like government, journalists, and politics, and which has been insane, unheard of. I think I think some of what you guys went through with the election being last year and all, since we have the election only next year, I think this is still going on. It's like too political, because once Biden won, like everybody chilled out a little bit, didn't it? Everybody was like, okay, take it easy, right? Everything's more calm now, but
Yeah.
we're still in this like whirlwind, and it's like
You
insane.
know,
But
there's a lot of this is a social media world. There's a lot of eyes on a lot of things, and unfortunately, there's when it comes to politics, there's a lot of optics, and not a lot of substance. So you want to be seen to be doing the right things and seen to be saying the right things on social media clips, but at the root of it, not a lot of the right things are getting done, and a lot of
yeah,
people are suffering
exactly.
for it. And yeah, like America has been a bit of a political theater, and I'd say a positive thing right now is there's less talk about politics right now, which is quite nice.
Yeah,
It's nice.
that's the thing. Everybody can get back to work and life back to normal. Forget about politics for a while. It's just like because I mean,
Yeah,
the difference between California and the other states like Texas, Arizona, Florida, um, it's totally a difference between like Democrat or Republican and the way they deal with it. It's like, but it's fine. It's like you don't like it, just leave. Here, everything's
yeah,
kind of the same. It's like there's no like going to another state, which is a little bit easier, or I'm afraid of the
yeah.
pandemic, so I'm going to California where everything is a little bit more strict.
No,
So, yeah, so
Brazil's a more of a complicated beast.
it is. It is. Um, I don't know. I
But
think we've seen the worst of
you
it.
guys think things, yeah, things are starting to like settle down a little bit now. It feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can get vaccinated tomorrow. A lot of people got vaccinated in the past months, like people not just for age group, but people that had like high blood pressure or something, or depression or
Hmm.
whatever. They could get a shot. So a lot of people are getting vaccinated. I think we vaccinated more than 100 million people or something. We're
It's
kind of in
good.
the midst of that.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah,
things have settled down. Things have settled down here now in regards to, I think, enough people have been vaccinated for let's just say the rules to have changed enough for us to kind of get back to work. It's nice that I've done my first shows now. I've done four shows.
so tell me about Arizona. That was the first show, right?
Well, yeah, it was actually the second, but that weekend was the first run of shows. So yeah, there is. My first show back was on Friday the 28th, Friday 28th of May, and I played in Salt Lake City at a festival called Get Funky that I was headlining, and I tell you, Silvio, it was weird. It was weird. My existence during the pandemic was nomadic. We had. I think I told you we had a sick relative, and she was very weak, and we were on full lockdown to protect her, Nikita's mother, and yeah, so I didn't really see anyone at all other than my immediate family, and yeah, being around people was genuinely strange for me. It's quite a difference putting out the bins every Tuesday night.
And
Maybe
was it a
seeing a
club,
neighbor.
like an outdoor stage, or
It was an outdoor festival, about 4,000 people.
right?
So I remember I walked out. I got out of the car. I looked at the festival, and I just had this like overall like wash of dread come over me. I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot of people. And then I got up on the decks, and there was I don't know. I'm normally pretty chill and composed when I'm playing, but I just felt nervous because a lot of time had gone by. I hadn't worked on as much music as I'd wanted to. I probably hadn't got, as much music together as I was hoping for, and started playing. And there's this huge monitor delay between the monitors and what I'm playing. And we've worked together. Like if there was a delay, any other time I would have stopped with composure, turned around, said something to someone, resolved the problem while I'm playing. Didn't do any of that. Binned 90% of my mixes while I was playing. Just like it felt like my set was horrendous, and felt nervous through the whole set. I mean, don't get me wrong, it went well, but I also decided that I'm going to start recording all of my sets. We started cataloging my sets, and I plan to do that for everything, just in case anything comes up and I want to let people hear it. The first thing I did at the end of the set was delete. No one's ever listening to that shit again. So,
Oh my God.
yeah. So then the next day, and I move on to the next day, and we'd gone and made a bold move by putting on a house show in Phoenix, Arizona. So there is an event space about 10-15 minutes outside of Phoenix International Airport called the Rawhide Event Center, and it sits on an Indian reservation. So for anyone that doesn't know, Indian reservations, they have their own governance and rules outside of state rules. You can do a lot more things on Indian reservations if the Indian reservations are down to do it. So
Yeah, they have like casinos and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a casino at this spot, and it's a great event space. They do festivals at this spot, and the local promoters there, Relentless Beats, they approached my agent about doing the first non-socially distanced show back in Phoenix, and doing it with myself and with Fisher, and so yeah, we decided to do it. So we put up it was Memorial Day weekend, I think it was the weekend that we were doing that show. So we put up the first show that we put up was for the Sunday, and we had a capacity of 10,000 tickets, and we sold it out. We sold it out straight away, which was pretty wild. So we put up a second night, and we didn't sell that one out, but we did a fair whack of tickets. I think we did like 7,000 people.
So
but that
I'm
was
guessing
by
you
far
came
the
in more prepared for it this time.
Well, I felt like I'd got all the shit out of the way, and all the bad experiences out of the way on the Friday. I was like, holy shit, I really need to get my shit in order. But the show went fantastic. It was really, really good. And of course, honestly, it's a bit easier when you're up on stage with your buddy. It's just a bit easier. So yeah, we did that.
And you had Lee Foz and Annabelle and
Fire. So we had on the first night, who did we have? We had Lee Foss, Annabelle England, John Summit, and then Test Pilot. That's right, Deadmau5's techno.
Oh yeah, that guy.
That guy, and
extra.
Extra. Yeah, Dubfire. I mean, I was so happy with how the lineup came up. I mean, it felt a bit weird. Dubfire playing before us. It doesn't compute with me, but it was nice. And he loved it. He had a great time. So, and it was pretty amazing feeling this collective overall excitement and relief. And the thing that surprised me was how openly emotional people were that they'd gone back to shows. It meant a lot more to people than I think anyone realized it was going to mean to them. It's pretty cool. So you've got that to come, Silvio.
I was seeing those videos from Liverpool that went viral. Of course, I mean, Youssef playing the Ultranate record, and I reposted that, and it was so overwhelming. The amount of people that came back to me and said, "Man, I missed that so much. When is it going to happen here?" So I think
Yeah,
when it does happen, it's going to be like a big explosion of freedom and whatnot.
it is, but I think also I don't. I personally don't think that'll last for long. I think we're all, as humans, we adapt to things very quickly. We yearn for things quite strongly, but we also forget pretty quickly as well. And I think there'll be an initial excitement. Things will slow down, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are struggling right now. There's lots of economic displacement, lots of jobs changing, lives changing, and historically, or at least my understanding of like the entertainment industry is when there's a recession or when there's things that are wrong in life and society, the shows that we're involved in, they provide some solace to people. People want these things more because they want to forget about the shit that's going on in their lives. So I think that there's going to be a lot of interest in, a lot of excitement for shows. But I don't necessarily think it's just because they weren't able to dance for 18 months. I think people will forget about that relatively quickly after their first show. After their first night out, I think that'll go quite quickly. But overall, I think there's going to be a lot of interest in these shows. Just, people want to let loose again.
Yeah, I think it's when the dam breaks, like this big flood, and
Exactly.
people are ecstatic, but then people are going to come back to the old ways, or gathering themselves in their tribes, or whatever. It's like,
Mm.
did you feel that the energy was different besides like this hedonistic thing, like we're coming out to it, or did you feel something energy about the music in any way?
Yeah, it was. It's difficult to judge on the shows that I do with Fish, for a few reasons. I don't do that many shows with him on purpose. We try to not do it very often to keep it exciting for us and for other people. And in our opinion, it works. We have a lot of fun. There's zero planning that goes into it. So it feels spontaneous for us, and it does end up being spontaneous and a lot of fun. And with the shows that we'd done before the pandemic, there was a different excitement to the shows that I do by myself. So, there's already a difference between that baseline of what I would kind of expect to feel from a show that I do. But even, to go back to your original question, there was. Something did feel a little bit extra, but maybe that was that kind of added sort of relief and emotion. And there was a lot of people that were nervous about for the first time being in close proximity with other people, and I think that brings about a different emotion from people when, like, you have to submit to that. I had to submit to that. You get in a crowd, you're around people, and after a little while, you're like, fuck it, fuck it. Just I've got to walk around near people. I've just got to let go, and it's all I think there's a bit of an adrenaline rush from just letting go. It felt good. It felt really, really good. So,
Awesome.
and I definitely on a. I mean, it was up there with one of the most memorable shows I've ever been involved in. I'll never forget it. It was pretty crazy. So,
Yeah, I mean,
listen,
just from seeing the stuff that you guys posted.
I'll sum it up. At the end of the second show, we ended the show with ABBA. Gimme, gimme, gimme a man after midnight.
Right.
we didn't give a fuck. We were just having
Right.
having the best time. It felt like the right thing to do at the time. I'd never do that. It was great fun. I was on the mic.
So, oh my God, that's pretty different.
Yeah.
I remember.
I was
I remember when the whole EDM thing came, and everybody was on the mic, and you really struggled with it. You never liked it. It's like,
No.
but it was
I
kind of the rule, wasn't it? Everybody was. It's like they went on and get a mic and said, "Hey, I'm Chris Lake."
Yeah, and I do you know what though? I have a slightly different relationship to it now than I did years ago. I don't mind getting on the mic, but I think it's more rooted in the fact that I feel like my relationship with my fans and my fan base is different now. I feel like I have a better connection with the people that listen to my music, and I feel through social media and the way that I've kind of like used social media. I feel like I have a better communicate. I feel like there's people maybe have a better understanding of me and my personality, and I feel more comfortable with saying something. I don't know what it is. I'm a bit of an overthinker in that regard, but like I don't mind getting on the mic. I'm not trying to be like I'm not trying to be like a hype man. I just don't. I just don't mind getting on, and I don't mind getting on saying to people, I'm fucking happy to be here. I've got no problem with that, And it's like there's little things, there's little moments like you only have to watch someone like Pete Tong or Carl Cox, watch them get on the microphone, and there's something different about them getting on the microphone to, and I'm not saying this in like a disrespectful way, but like Dimitri Vegas and like Mike. It's there's a difference in the energy. It's when I see Carl Cox getting on the microphone, I think it's fucking sick. I really do, and the same with Pete. But it's not like it's just like a different energy, and it's just more like a little conversation or a confirmation that the human's there behind the decks, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I think that's I don't find that particularly off-putting. But let's just say 1, 2, 3 jump before the drop. I think that's a bit much.
Yeah, it's tacky. It's a little bit tacky.
Yeah,
some
but
like it,
obviously it works for some people.
Cup of tea, Yeah, whatever. So
but yeah, I don't know. I'm getting old. I'm getting older now, and I guess I'm trying to feel more. I want to feel as comfortable as possible, and there's times where you need to get on the microphone, and like there are times where you need to get on the microphone. So
yeah, you're entertaining people at the end of the day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's roll it back a little bit. So when you were in Glasgow, you told me you used to go out. You go to Archers and see like James Zabila or Sasha, those guys.
You have a good memory.
I do. So that's the time where you were getting like the buzz from clubbing and music in general.
Yeah. So to put it in perspective, my clubbing experience was difficult because I didn't live in Glasgow. I lived 3 hours away from Glasgow, so it was a bit of a mission to go and experience the clubbing that I felt was appealing to me. So when I got, I mean, any 20-year-old that's watching this would just think this is completely alien what I'm going to explain. But so much of my understanding of dance music came from a combination of reading magazines being Mix Mag, DJ Mag. I can't remember the other ones that would have been out at the time. But let's say, exactly. Music, DJ Mag, and Mix Mag. They'd be the music publications. And then on top of that, for production, future music and computer music, I'd read all of those things. And that would give me an understanding of what I thought was kind of cutting edge at the time. in the UK. And then the other big thing was the early days of the internet. But the internet was dial-up internet. For kids that don't know, dial-up internet is, I don't know, it's fucking awful. It's absolutely terrible. You can't do shit. It took me an hour to send an MP3 to a DJ, and that will give you an idea of how slow it was. And I'd live on the message boards. There was two message boards I'd use. The one was Huge Tunes message board. Huge Tunes was a record label that was predominant in the 90s. They put out some of the best kind of like prog and trance classics, like Cafe Del Mar, Energy 52, and Trendsetters, Roaches, and things like this. And then the other one was Global Underground. You know about this one. I think you were all into the Global Underground stuff as well. So I just loved the progressive scene. I kind of loved all the Sasha and Digweed stuff, and that was my shit. So anyway, a lot of the shows the DJs that I wanted to see that were appealing, you'd only get to see them if you drove 3 hours down to Glasgow. They weren't coming to Aberdeen. They weren't really coming near to me. So I'd go down. I loved the Arches. It was a club underneath the railway arches in Glasgow. So it was all granite rock. It was hot, sweaty. The vibe was just fantastic. Had a warehouse vibe. Just felt raw. The sound system was big, thumping. You felt the music, and it felt really, really good. And so I just have great memories of going down and seeing Sasha, James Sabila, Carl Cox. I'm trying to think of some of the other DJs that I want to go see, but that was the spot that I'd go to, and I loved it, and it made a mark on me. It was like a benchmark of the sort of show that I wanted to do. And that was where I wanted my music to be played. And I did have visions and dreams of playing that sort of show myself. So
did you end up playing there?
Yeah, once. So I think it's done now. I think it's closed. So I didn't really play I didn't play much in Scotland at all. So ironically, it just never really. I don't know. It just didn't happen much.
Right, and you were born in London, right?
I was born in Norwich, which is about 2.5 hours northeast of London. So kind of quiet.
Then you moved to Scotland.
I moved to Northern Ireland first, then I moved to Scotland. So I was there. I was in Northern Ireland for a year, then in Scotland for 12 years. I mean, I might have been living in Scotland when I first did shows with you. Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know.
Because
maybe.
There was this thing like everybody thought you were Scot, and you kept going, "Oh, I'm English." It's like I'm not from Scotland. But there was like,
but you know the story. You know the story of why that happened. You know the story of why that happened.
I don't remember.
It was Pete Tong's fault. So when I made changes, when I made my track changes, he played it and he made it Essential New Tune. Now he still has the Essential New Tune, but like back then, it was one of the most significant. Weird. Hello.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Don't know what happened. Yeah. So
you're talking about the Essential New Tune.
Essential New Tune. So he made it Essential New Tune, and of course, he's presenting a radio show. So when he announced that it was Essential New Tune, he's like, "This is a song by Chris Lake, who's the hottest thing to come out of Scotland since Milo." And I was like, "Well, fuck it, I'll just be Scottish then. I'm not going to correct Pete Tong." So, but then it became a bit difficult for me, because even to this day, I think if you go on Wikipedia says I'm Scottish, and the reason that I can't correct it is because Pete Tong is so powerful. Because he has said that I was Scottish, that information trumped anything that I sent to Wikipedia to correct it.
That is crazy.
So, anyways, I don't mind it, of course. I mean, I spent a huge portion of my life but I guess it'd be similar to people describing you as being from Rio.
Right. Yeah,
You know, it's not like you're not that bothered about it, but it's not true. So
it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
So man, and then it was quite a journey, from then until to get where you are now. I mean, it was a lot of hit and miss. I think torture. Yeah, it was an uphill battle. I think everybody see you like selling out 15,000 tickets and think, well, this guy's so lucky, he has it so good. But anybody knows a little bit of your history, everything you went through to get there. It's like it's not that you didn't have like memorable moments like playing like a full stage at Ultra before that. It's like other line of music, but you made like a major change in your career and your sound, and you reached levels that you hadn't before. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's just basically, I think, I guess when I was younger, I kind of I've always been pretty headstrong about what I wanted to do. And I think for the most part, up until about probably 2010, I was doing a pretty good job of just doing my own fucking thing and not giving a shit about what anyone else thought. And then I moved to America, and things started changing. I entered into a major record deal that didn't go the way that I planned, and I started taking on things like a Vegas residency and having powerful people around me that had opinions of what I should be doing, and for various reasons. I felt like I started making mistakes in my career because I allowed other people's suggestions and external pressures to influence what I ended up doing musically, and it was poor. It was just like I look back on it and I'm like, fuck, I made some dumb decisions, and it's the only real period that I really I don't look back on with particular fondness. And it caused me a lot of problems. But ironically, I kind of had quite big records during that time. Boneless being one of them. I worked with Steve Aoki, and that was just like it wasn't some kind of like crazy positional move trying to work with someone powerful and well known to kind of like level up, because I don't do that. That's just not been my style. I just like working with people because I like working with them. And that's how it came about working with Steve. I ended up over at his house for non-musical reasons, and he suggested, "Do you want to work on a track?" And I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's do it." Worked on a track, made it. Ended up kind of bringing Djamo into getting involved in it. Made this instrumental track that felt really good and really big, and it is.
The video is really cool.
Up. And it is, and it blew up. But the downside to it was, parallel to that, Steve started caking people just around the same time, and the song blew up, really blew up. But it did
to this day. It's part of like some music that.
I'm proud as fuck of the song. I think the song still bangs. I don't like the I'm not really that into the vocal version, but that was nothing to do with me, really. So that was when after that it wasn't really my song. That by that point it becomes Steve's song, for all intents and purposes. But at the same time, people knew about the success of the song, and I don't think it really computed with people that my Chris is on that song, but he's done all this stuff in the past. I think I started confusing the shit out of people. And the truth was, I was confusing the shit out of myself. And there was this moment, there was actually a moment I think I was playing in South Korea or something. I was doing a festival, and I just remember I had this moment where, I don't actually think I've ever told anyone this, but I had this, I'd played a main stage at this festival. It was all right. I kind of like got by doing my music, playing my stuff, and it was okay. And Steve was on a couple of sets later, and Steve asked for me to hang around, and he asked for me to jump up and be on stage when Boneless was played. And I just remember going up on stage. I did it, and it was like, I just stood there and I was like, what the fuck am I doing up here? This is the wackest thing I think I've ever done in my life. I feel so fucking stupid. I'm looking out at the crowd and I'm like, this ain't the Arches in Glasgow. This isn't the vibe that I was. This isn't the vibe. I'm like, this is just.
Didn't sign up for this.
What have I done? Where have I allowed? And I'm not saying this is like a diss to anyone else. It's like, this is me. This is my personal thing. What the fuck am I doing? Where have I let this go? I flew to Scotland right after that, and I went back to my parents' house. And I just remember, fuck, I felt dejected. I'm like, this is, I really need to figure out what is going on. And up to that point, around that period, I wasn't really writing that much. I'd started getting involved in managing other artists. And I felt like I wanted to do that more than I wanted to create, because I felt like I'd lost all of my creativity and my, that part of me. I felt like I just got disconnected from it. And then I don't know, I just went back. I went back to my parents' house. I was in the spare room for a week, and I just started writing, and I just started making house music again. And I was like, this is it. This is exactly it. And that was, I remember I called up my agent, I called up my manager, and I'm like, we're changing everything. We're changing everything, and we need to start making some really fucking difficult decisions. And part of that decision was, what the fuck am I going to do about this record deal that evidently doesn't work for me?
Did you have many time or records to go at that time?
More than you could ever believe. More than you could ever believe. Yeah, it was horrendous, and I'm not even going to go into the details of that. It was fucked. So it didn't work. Didn't work for it. Well, definitely didn't work for me. So let's just say I started a journey of trying to get out of that. I started trying to change the shows that I was booking. And the first thing that I did was I booked a show at Cielo in New York and did an extended set at Cielo.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I actually, at the time, the deep house was kind of like a bit of a buzzword, and I billed it as like a deep house set. It was just me, like, just playing what I fucking used to, basically. And but Silvio, it was fucking weird. It was weird, and because for the years previous, I've not been playing like that. I've been starting to get more into like this big room stuff. I started losing kind of like I'd started adjusting to for the crowd, which is the only period where I've ever done it in my career. And I had to adjust. And I remember it was an extended set. I think I said I'd do a 4-hour set. And then it dawned on me like a couple of days before. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm really worried that I'm going to like be good at this. And I called up Neil Nelsky, one of my best friends. So, we're really close. We've been producing for years together, and he's. I pick up the phone to him, and it's just like no time's passed. I called him up, and I'm like, I've got this show in New York coming up. It's like it means quite a lot to me, and I'm starting to get really nervous about my preparation, and like my kind of like my sort of honesty in the music that I want to get back to doing. And I basically said to him, "What are you doing tomorrow?"
You're
Because
coming with.
I want to fly you to New York, and all I want you to do is be in the booth with me and tap me on the shoulder if you think what I'm doing is crap. And so he did. He got on the plane. And honestly, it went great. It was a fantastic night, and it just it was like this confirmation to me that I have a lot of work to do, but two, it reminded me that this is what I love, and this is why I do it. So I had that was the beginning of a really, really difficult journey. So I had a few problems. One, I actually had big successful records with my name on them. And I knew that the only way that I could change the perception of me was if I changed what people felt were my successes. And they had to be bigger than what I'd done with, say, Boneless or Changes or anything like that. So I just had to try and find a way to kind of like make my music work and connect and like rewrite the kind of like the history or the successes that people can judge me on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up getting out of the record deal, and I think there was a couple of big moments that happened just in a small matter of months, and I got out of the record deal, and the first track that I managed to, that I went to go release was a track called Operator, and I had a vocal from Dances with White Girls, and I was on the phone to Danny Howard at Radio 1, and I played him what I'd got coming up, and I played him that Operator record, and he loved it. I played it on Skype, and he called me back the next day, and he's like, "I've got my first gig covering Annie Mac's show. This is a big deal for me. I can't get that song that you played to me out of my head. Will you give it to me and let me play it, make it as a hottest record of the world?" Which is the feature that's on Annie Mac's show. So similar to go back to Pete Tong, similar to the Essential New Tune accolade. And I was like, I went back to the I said, give me a minute. I went over to the office where my manager and my assistant was, who is now the A&R at Black Book. And I was like, what are we going to do here? So, okay, fuck it. Let's put it out. Let's put it out on Friday. We'll use this as the launch for the record, and we'll so we'll use this the hottest record of the world as the launch of the record. We'll release it on Friday, so people will be able to go and listen to it as soon as it's out. Okay, how are we going to release it? Fuck it. Let's start a record label. What are we going to call it? Black Book.
Is that it? It was just that quick, like clicking everything.
That was it. Yeah. So, we need a logo. Okay. So Ian gets a napkin and draws. I think the first logo was the book. The book that was drawn on the back of a napkin, and we were like, okay, fuck it. So then we scrambled, got some artwork together, gave the record to Danny Howard. He made it hottest record of the world. Came out. And things just really started to connect. It just felt like there was just this little bit more authenticity with how these records were connecting with the DJs. So everyone was playing it. And then in the January, so I think I released that in like November or December. Then the January comes round, and there was 2 sailings of Holy Ship. And
at the same time, it was like you were changing, and there was this whole tide of house music coming back as well.
Yeah. EDM was still up. Yeah. EDM was still, well, actually, no, it was kind of like, it was dying down by that point, and house was coming up. But I'd already put 4 years into it, really, kind of like getting to that point. And, and so.
Did you have people telling you, "Oh, you're crazy. You should stick to your stuff," or
Yes.
uh,
Yeah, most of all me, but it was difficult. But I would not recommend anyone trying to do what I did. I just start a new alias. But the only the difficulty that I had with that decision was Chris Lake is my own name, so that's my own reputation, and I just didn't like how I was leaving it. So I had one of two options: abandon it and always be known for what stuff that I didn't really want to be known for, or work hard and try and change it. So that was the decision. So, but yeah, the song ended up just getting played everywhere. It was a really strong track, and then Gary Richards called me up last minute because there was a DJ that cancelled Hard Summer. I remember I got drafted in and I did a last minute kind of early slot at Hard Summer. That was a sort of festival that I wanted to be getting onto, positioning wise, that I was struggling to get onto because people were still like, yeah, but he made bonus, you know, and that was difficult, and I was getting a lot of that. So everything that I did,
right.
like a lot of decisions, it was about moving forward. It was also about correcting what was in the past. So
Yeah, I
it
remember.
took,
I
it
remember
took
once you told me that um, the the thing, the ace in the hole that you have is that you know a lot about music production, and you would always be able to work yourself out of trouble. You know, something you told me a few years
yeah,
ago. You
yeah.
told me
You know, like
that
records
about.
can.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, records are powerful. The songs are powerful. They can, they just they leave a mark with people. When a song lands, you don't it doesn't leave you. You don't forget it. And that's one of the best things that we have as artists. That ability. And so if you can make the right one, you can change a lot of things in your career. So yeah, I've always had belief that something I can make in the future would really connect. So I have been lucky. I think things have come together pretty well. So
Yeah, I think so. And but at the same time, I'm sure you made like loads of records that you're really proud of. Never got anywhere. Didn't get any traction.
yeah, loads of them. But
Now
like
this is
I
going to
will
be the
say,
one.
I
I
think
love this, and then it goes nowhere.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I still think the one my most successful one at the moment would be "Turn Off the Lights," and I actually do think I might be different to a lot of artists. That honestly might be one of the songs I'm most proud of. I love that song. I'm very proud of it. It just sort of it feels quite unique to me, and I just know that it was an absolute bitch to make. So when I listen to it, sometimes those songs that are really difficult to make, they they feel tired and uninvigorating because it's like this memory of the difficulty that you had to create it. But I don't have that with that one. I'm really proud of it.
So what at what time in that process were you trying to cut off like meat in your life and become healthy and like really healthy and work out and stuff like that. Um, Not that you
Well,
weren't healthy
I've been
before, but you
yeah yeah
had
no,
like
I
a
well I haven't drunk
shift,
now for I haven't drank now for 11 years. Um,
and you weren't
I
an alcoholic. Let's put it that
no
way, because when you
no
start a
no
phrase
no
like
no
that, people think, oh, he was an alcoholic,
I
an
know
abusive alcoholic.
no
You
no
say, I
no
haven't
but I
drank in
just
11 years.
yeah, but I start, but that's I think it's a big thing. I think it drags a lot of people down. So, yeah, I gave that up. I've been eating meat lately, mainly because, but I class myself as flexitarian. So,
Never
I
heard
class
that.
myself as flexitarian. Yeah, I start vegan. Silvio.
Hello.
Ida,
You're on the podcast.
Hi, how are you?
how are you?
Good, thank you. Nice to
Miss
see
you
you.
guys. Yeah,
Miss
nice to see you
you.
too.
You gotta come to Brazil soon when things are less crazy.
Hopefully, we're getting there.
That's part of what we're talking about.
Okay, cool. Well, I got to run. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So I start vegan, and then I work my way down through the bad decisions. But yeah, the reason I started the reason I started eating it again was I was really struggling to get the protein into me. I was just withering away. So I try to look after myself. But it's been difficult. It's been difficult through the pandemic, and I'm getting older now, and I'm kind of like, I started going to a physical therapist to fix my shoulder. So I'm actually
Really?
struggling to exercise. Yeah, I'm struggling to exercise properly. I'm trying to go back to fix some movement patterns in my shoulder. I'll be able to start up again soon. I went through it. I was starting to get into this cycle of doing 3-4 weeks training, then having to stop for 2 months to repair my shoulder.
Right.
It's no use.
Right.
So.
Yeah, when I came back from the pandemic, my gym was because I've been doing jujitsu for the past 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
for like every day now, and then when the pandemic hit, I had to stop for like 2 months, and I was still working out a little bit, but nothing serious, and then I came back like doing regular like jumping jacks. I had a tear in
Oh.
my leg over here, so I had to stop for a month because I think all the muscle, unlearned everything that I was doing before. So,
Mm-hmm.
which is great because I got into physical therapy, and then I just did like physical training for 2 months, and I got all the rest aligned: my shoulder, my back, my knees, my legs, everything. So when I got back to jujitsu, I was in great shape.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
makes a
been great.
big
You haven't done
difference.
jujitsu, right?
No. I have a bit of a fear of having sweaty ball sack right in my face, but yeah, there's Gita Walker.
A fear.
What are you guys
No,
talking about?
Do you do it with the gi, or do you or is it just like with gym gear?
I do both. I do mostly with the gi, but I do a little no gi training as well.
Yeah, I love watching it. I mean, I've got really into it now. So, but I don't practice it at all. I don't practice. I'm just
Right.
big and clumsy. I don't feel like I don't know. It's weird. I really enjoy combat sports, but I don't enjoy participating in combat sports.
Right.
So
Have you ever?
yeah, a little bit of boxing. I'm too
Right.
much of a pussy.
You'd be great at jujitsu. You'd love it. You'd get hooked on it.
But this is
You'd
the other
want to
thing as well. I
practice
probably
every day
yeah.
because it's
Maybe
basically
in my future.
it's something that it's bit by bit that you grow. It's an everyday thing. It's like every day you learn a new lesson, and even if you're a black belt, I mean, if even if you're a black belt, you learn every day, and there are some practitioners that evolve like exponentially after they get the black belt. So it's always a learning
So
process.
what belt are you now?
I'm a brown belt. I got 3 stripes. So basically, I
Nice.
need one more stripe, and then the next step is a black belt. But
You badass.
yeah, but the cool thing about it is that even after you get a black belt, it's not like, oh, okay, I'm done with this. I have
No.
achieved my black belt, so I'm not going to practice anymore. So there are people
And
like
what
that,
about
but
your
it's
brother?
not about that.
Is your brother still competing?
My brother, no, he had to start work for a living because now he's like the
Ugh.
3rd child, so he needs to pay the bills. But he
Yeah.
practices a lot. He does a lot of physical training, and he's opening up a gym right now, actually. but it's going to be like one of those 30-minute course gyms.
Hmm.
You have some of those there, right? Where you
Yeah,
hit a bag and you do some. So sometimes it's like small circuit that you do for like 25
sweat
minutes,
your
and then
bollocks off in a short amount of time.
exactly. So you have time to eat and come back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's
Nice.
basically what he's been doing. Yeah. So
Sick.
what are the plans now for? Is Europe opening up as well? Do you have dates there?
Not Europe. I mean, there were things, but I mean, I'm not. I'm not a. I'm not in a race to kind of like go back to Europe. Look, it's a big journey, and I'd like to have the confidence that I'm going to be going out there and something, things are going to go successfully. So,
Hmm.
I think I was on for Tomorrowland, I believe, and well, that's not happening now. So, and that would have been a big linchpin, show to build around. But I think look, there's I think there's a lot of things that go through my head when it comes back to this, these shows coming back, and but there's people in Europe they'll be more suited to be going and doing the early shows. They're the ones that should be doing it. It's easier for them. They're there, like why the fuck should I be flying out there straight away? It's
Right.
not like only for selfish reasons. Not. It's like I'm not really interested in doing that. That's why I've been doing shows. Like all the shows I've been doing have been within proximity to here. It's feels a bit more correct.
Yeah. I mean, if there are shows available as well, it's like if you can fly for an hour and play for 10,000 people, it's like why the hell are you going
Yeah,
to Europe?
exactly. So I'll get there. I'll get there. I'll get there when everything opens up. There were plans to go out there. They just all got, just like everything
Yeah,
else,
they
just
they were
went to
pretty
shit.
close. I mean, the government shut it down, but they were pretty close to having it.
Hmm.
It's like in August. It's just a shame,
It's
but
just complicated. It's just complicated. It's there's a lot of moving pieces. So yeah, I'm not sure when. I'm going to guess now next year. So yeah, I think most of my immediate plans would be in North America because it feels like it's the most likely to happen.
so man, about your relationship with Brazil, I mean, it's
It's been going on a long
pretty.
time.
Yeah, I mean, like to tell people that used to be a regular at Warung,
Hmm.
uh, which at one point was like very different from your music and your career. Now I think it got closer. I don't know if it's
Hmm.
close enough, but it's definitely closer.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
there's some
I
memorable
think you
nights
told
there
you.
where
I think you
you.
told me that. You told me that I'd committed the cardinal sin of playing at Green Valley, so I'm a bit fucked there.
Yeah, I think time passes on and they're more relaxed about it. But if you do that, like in an immediate situation, it's like they say there's just so many people who want to play the club. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, look, man, that was one of my favorite shows ever to do. Where I'm coming over with you, and I've got such vivid memories of that. It was, playing those.
it's like
It
playing
was
several
really those.
hours.
Yeah, we're just playing those just being in particular in the south of Brazil, and being in those kind of beach, open, like kind of open air kind of venues. There's some special ones there in Brazil. The vibe is ridiculous. Just very very memorable. I don't feel like I've experienced that kind of thing really anywhere else, compared to those shows we did all those years ago. It's like
Hmm.
they're great. Warring is the perfect example of that. And there's the other one down. What was the I played
Jimbaran or Cozumel,
Jimbaran.
those clubs, Roberto's clubs.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were
those were
great.
a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
Those were great.
Yeah. So I love those. And then then there was a period where I didn't come as regularly. I've been over a couple of times since, and it's fun. But things have changed quite a lot. Like the difference to even say 5-6 years ago to now would be the relationship with Brazil and the internet, and how the English-speaking internet can understand what's going on in the Portuguese-speaking internet part. I can now see what's kind of being talked about. I can see people talking about me, and I can translate what's being talked about. I couldn't do that before. I basically, what I knew was, hey Silvio, so what's the vibe? And that was it. That's all I knew, because it was like you didn't like, wasn't like, most of Brazil used a different social network, didn't they? It was like Weibo. Was it Weibo or?
It was Orkut, and then MySpace, and then Facebook.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. I just remember it was very, very difficult to gauge what was going on. But then something happened, and there was a bit more of like a house movement, or in my like definitely more in my kind of world of house that I could see, and my people were talking about that, and there was interest in it. So yeah, kind of felt a bit more understandable. That's one of the better things that's developed over this last few years.
And so, how did that partnership with Fisher come about?
Well, he's one of my best mates. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky to kind of be, I've had very talented people around me, and Fish being one of them, Chris Lorenzo being another. The two of my artist friends that I probably speak to the most. And yeah, kind of like, I don't know, just had this. It's weird. I'll tell you how the back to back came about. The back to back came about because of Pasquale Rotella, Insomniac, and Fish and I were out in EDC Japan. I think it was EDC Japan, playing, and we got a call saying that Pasquale wanted to book Pasquale personally wanted to choose the booking for the last show, for the last time slot on the third day of the main stage at EDC Las Vegas. And the reason he wanted to do it was he wanted to choose it personally because historically he would take all of his friends and family for that last show and be up in his box and whatever and enjoy the whole of the show. And he wanted to enjoy it with his favorite artists at the time. And his two favorite artists at the time was me and Fish. And so he asked if we'd be interested in doing a back-to-back. And the back-to-back would be directly after Afrojack. So we said no. I was like, fuck that. Everyone will fuck off. We'll go up, play one record, and everyone will be gone, because it's just like, it's going to, like, our records will sound like Celine Dion tracks compared to Afrojack. And I just had no belief in our music belonging on that size of stage, and just the musical cohesion. I just didn't think that it would. I didn't think it would work. So initially we said no, and then we just kept getting asked, and like he was like, he really, really wants this. He really insists on it. And like, so I spoke to Fish. Like I said, we're really close friends. So I was like, "Are you down to do it?" He's like, "Oh, fuck it, I'm down to do it." I says, "Well, just be prepared. I think that as soon as we go on, half the crowd will fuck off. If you're okay with that, let's do it." He's like, "Fuck it, let's do it." And so we did it, and that didn't happen. I was shocked. That was actually the first time that was the first main stage show that Fish had ever done. And we went up, and the reaction was fantastic. And then just people, I don't know, that just seemed to capture people's attention. Just like, Arizona caught your attention. That back-to-back, a house act closing the EDC main stage really caught people's interest because it just wasn't being done then. And I think it gave Insomniac even more confidence to push house music on their stages. And that led to me getting booked a lot the next year on their on a lot of their main stages, because they really wanted to push house music to try and even out some of the EDM-ness of their lineups. And so those videos just kept doing the rounds, and it really caught non-house heads' attention that we did that set, and they enjoyed it. It connected. So some things came off the back of it. We did a back-to-back down at that show with the vintage culture, Sotrek Boa. We did that. We did the back-to-back down in Brazil, and then we did the Shrine. We put up the Shrine. So the Shrine is a venue
you kept on adding extra shows.
Mm-hmm.
Kept on selling out.
Right. So but this is the thing. That was not planned. That was not expected. It was just fucking epic. We had this. There was a long-term plan, maybe about 2 years down the line. We felt hopefully we'll be able to get to a point where we can do 5,000 tickets in LA, a hard ticket venue. We'll be able to do that in 2 years. That was like our long-term plan, to be able to do something like that. And then this opportunity came up to do the back-to-back. We announced it, and it took 4 minutes. It was 4 minutes for the tickets to sell. So, which is as long as it took for the queue to clear, basically. And so we did that, and just kind of realized, oh fuck, there's demand for a second show. So we put a second show up. That went in 10 minutes. And by this point, I'm like, everyone's like, okay, fuck it, we've got to go for a third. And I'm like, nah, let's just take the two. Let's be happy with this, and then call it quits. But we ended up going for the third and sold that out in an hour, and that's when we tapped out. So we did the 3 shows, made the statement, played the shows. They went fantastic. It was one of the best shows we've ever done, and that had a huge effect on our solo careers as well. But it also gave us this feeling that we wanted to just keep it special, do it on irregular occasions, and use it as an opportunity to get all of our family and friends together to have a party. And that's essentially what it is. So it's actually quite fucked up. It's first and foremost, it's a party for our wives and our friends, and we also play to a lot of people. It's pretty cool.
That's the core of it. Right?
Yeah, that's the core of it.
Everybody is invited to join in.
Yeah, and it feels that, and it does actually feel that way. And it wasn't like it just wasn't intended. It's just how it ended up being. So like I said, we're all really close. We're just friends, and we're just we're having a laugh. And I love the vibes. I love the vibes that they all give off, and that Fish gives off, and it's just great. We have a lot of fun. So
Yeah, he's such a character. Like,
yeah,
it's cool that he comes from the surfing world, right? He used to be a professional surfer,
yeah.
and a lot of Brazilians know him, because now a lot of Brazilians are really doing good surfing.
Well, no, is it that
Brazilians
Brazil's
storm.
dominating surfing? Yeah,
Yeah,
Brazil's dominating surfing. Yeah. I'm aware of that, and he's
yeah.
he's big into surfing. He's also big into MMA. He also loves MMA. And he's
You guys are really
he's
friends
been
with
involved.
Luke Rockhold, right?
Yeah. And Luke's training with some Brazilian fighters at the
Jiu-jitsu
moment. I
guys.
think
Yeah,
down
the
at down at
jiu-jitsu
the
guys.
down at the Ruka. Yeah, he's down at the Ruka gym. Who's the one that there was the one that fought last week? I can't remember his name. I personally haven't met him, but I think he's like, I don't know. Anyway,
A friend of mine trained with him a little bit. A friend of mine, Bruno Cury, that trains with me here. He trained with him a little bit.
yeah, it looks really good. He looks really good. I think he's just I think he's looking for his next fight. So
Have you ever attended a UFC show?
no, and we had tickets for the for which one was it? What was the one 2 weeks ago? The one in Arizona. We had tickets for that,
Arizona.
but but ended up giving Fish ended up giving the tickets to Gio, his assistant, who went there and got hammered and loved it. I don't know. It was just the flight out there, and I don't know. There was too much going on, so we just ended up. We'll go to another one. But yeah, I haven't been to one. I haven't been to one. I'm spending a fortune on the UFC cards.
Right.
Spending an absolute fortune on pay-per-views.
Right. Do you spend like for every show, or do you have like a subscription that you see everything?
Because you can't get a subscription for those pay-per-views, so you just have to pay. And it's really expensive out here. It's like, I think it's $70.
Per show.
Yeah.
Here it's you can get a subscription for a channel that plays all the UFC shows, and it costs like $15 a month.
Wow. Yeah. They're
You
taking
get a whole
advantage
bunch
of
of
the
other
American
stuff as well.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I enjoy watching the fights. I love it. It's probably my favorite sport. So that and Formula One.
Well, Formula One, they expect to be the São Paulo Grand Prix to be the first major event with public, with like 40,000 people attending.
Really.
So,
And what date's that?
I think it's 11th, 12th, I think.
Of
And it's
the 5th of July.
like according to November.
Okay.
So according to government officials, like off the record, they're saying that that's going to be like the first major event in São Paulo with
It's a
public
big one.
attendance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I got into sim racing while I was during quarantine. I got all the steering wheel and
Right.
the curved screen and everything. I love it. I'm terrible at it.
Oh,
but
that's crazy. That's so hard to drive that.
it's great though. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're good on it, it's like you can do it. But I tried one of my friend's house, and it's just like kept on crashing. It's like I couldn't drive it.
Well, you get used to it. That's the problem though. It's a computer, so you'd do things that you wouldn't do in real life. You'd take risks that you wouldn't do in real life because all you have to do is press a key, and you have a new car in the pit lane. So
So, what are your plans? Like, you did a few great shows in Brazil lately, and and you guys did the festival here in São Paulo and Rio, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I don't know what the next step is, because it's, I think it's like trying to figure out what's going on in Brazil anyway. So it's difficult to make any kind of plans. I definitely want to come back and do it again. It's like that plan was to kind of, there was an opportunity to make something regular and build it. So, but it's been fucking 2 years. you know? So it's it's just the same as, same as you guys with every event that you've got, just trying to figure out how to pick it all back up, right? It's not. It's going to be. Just have to. I don't know. I just have to figure it out. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. So, I love coming down to Brazil. I love coming down to Brazil. It's great. So.
I think the Rio show that you guys did was really hard to do, wasn't it? Because I kept on hearing about government officials like not clearing it and stuff like that, and then finally you guys were able to do it.
I think I was shielded from a lot of the difficulty of that. I was not given that impression. I was just told about that afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, it did seem like it was a bit of a mission, and I did see. I got sent some news articles from afterwards. I didn't realize how many noise complaints there were.
Yeah,
and I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like it's like I think since I work with. Oh, but it's fine. I mean, it's one night. I mean, nobody's gonna die. Let the kids have fun, a little bit. But
it was the distance. It was the distance of the noise complaints. Apparently, there was rattling 4 miles away. What the fuck? So I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
that
was what was
once in a while. I mean, imagine living close to Ultra, that park over there, like once a year. It's
yeah,
like
but
hell.
the difference with Ultra is Ultra finishes at night. Like that one that we did
You guys went overnight.
We went all night. We came up with the sun. We stopped at 7 a.m. That's stupid. It's like, I understand why people are complaining. It's not. It's. You guys have always had different rules. I mean, it's like that. The one that baffles me is that rooftop club. In the
downtown.
I forgot the name of it now. Yeah, and it's like it's just surrounded by all these other buildings. It's loud as fuck. I don't get. I just don't understand how that one's running. Are you kidding? So yeah, you Brazilians are you have a different relationship with the rules. That's for sure.
Man, you like right beside Warung, like they built like this huge apartment building, really high end, really expensive, but it's not like it's like close like these two screens here. It's like really close, and a lot of powerful people are moving there. So the club's going to see a lot of times what they're going to have to open during the day, or make a deal to open at night. But
wow,
it's crazy, man.
That's a fantastic venue, though. That's
Yeah.
a truly fantastic venue.
It
What's
is.
the capacity
The
of
sun
Warung?
shines. About 4,000 or 5,000.
Okay, I love it.
Because the terrace now is a lot bigger.
The one behind the main stage.
Yeah, they made like they have like a small terrace, but now they have like they renovated. It's like this huge terrace now. So,
because I remember when the terrace was first made, and like there wasn't really many people. Well, when the events I played, there wasn't many people that were going dancing at it. It was kind of quiet. So
yeah, now like artists are booked for the main room and for downstairs as well. It's like major artists like Peggy Goo would play like just a terrace,
I love it.
So it's like,
I love
yeah,
it.
but it's crazy, man. It's like this whole building, like right beside the club. I can't imagine like a
Yeah,
guy wanting to buy an apartment there.
yeah. These things keep happening. That just happened. That happened in Ministry of Sound in London.
Yeah.
There's apartment blocks that got built next there, and that caused loads of problems. I think it's still going on. And then the other one, it just happened at a venue in Arizona, at a place called Shady Park. There was I think it was a retirement home or something opened literally across the road during the pandemic, and there was no live events, and they never noticed about anything going on. And then it opened up, and fuck, they're kicking off, and trying to get the venue
by the
closed
way.
down. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it happens, but it's like I don't really understand. There just seems to be like real big zoning lapses all around the world. It's like you got to understand how sound works. You can't. You give a perimeter around these venues. Put different things there. Put a chip shop. Everyone wants a chip shop by the club.
I mean, yeah, but it's hard, It's like these cities, especially in major cities. I think you can do something like that in the outskirts of any city, but everything's already occupied.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to drive an hour to go clubbing, besides you.
Yeah,
Driving
3 hours. That happens a lot in Brazil, though, doesn't it? There seems to be a lot of people that will drive.
It does, like
what was
Serena, people used to drive down by
That's
the
it.
beach that we did a few times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely. So, man,
I was thinking about something that happened. One of the shows. I've been telling this story quite a lot recently. You booked me at a club, and I remember it being communicated. I don't know whether it was to me or to my team. It was like an hour drive. Was it an hour drive? It was like from Sao Paulo. I think it took me like 4 hours, and the like the shittiest roads, and ended up at like this sort of like beach resort kind of thing, and stayed at this hotel. I sweat my balls off at the hotel, and I remember I went and played the show. I don't think you were with me, but you booked it.
Right.
And something happened at this show. So the week that I was playing that show, I had a Beatport number one. I had a Beatport number one with Sebastian Leger, and the track was Aqualite. And I was playing the show, the dance floor was full, and I'm like, time to play my heavy hitter. Dropped Aqualite. It's the only time in my professional career everyone left the floor. Every single fucking person. They're just like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah, everyone left, and that was my Beatport number one at the time. But I can't remember where it was. It was one of these ones where I was told it was going to be an hour drive, and it wasn't. It was like 4. You don't remember where it is, do you?
I don't remember. No.
It was before. I think it was just like when Google Maps was just starting to come along, and I think when you actually put like destinations in Brazil, you wouldn't actually get the directions or the distance.
You don't remember the city or the state?
I still think it was Sao Paulo State. I think. Nah, you don't remember.
I don't know. I'll have
it was by water, though. It was. I remember it was by water, but I think it was a lake,
like
not
a beach.
But I don't think. But we didn't go south for it. It wasn't like going down towards Santos or anything. It was like it was up, and I felt like we went to a lake or something. It was by a lake. Anyway, there we go.
I don't remember.
Listen, I just remember that I successfully stopped people dancing.
You're number one Beatport.
Oh, it's just yeah. Listen, it was always a challenge. It still is a challenge coming to Brazil and like doing what I would do anywhere else. you can't quite do that in Brazil. Music doesn't work and hit the same in Brazil.
No,
I can't explain it,
really different.
but it doesn't.
Have you been
It doesn't.
in contact with many Brazilian producers?
Yeah, more and more now. It's like I have. I did during quarantine. I was doing some demo streams where I was listening to people's demos and giving them feedback
Right.
and it was so fun. The funniest thing that came out of it was my ability to identify a Brazilian artist before I'd listened to the song or seen that they were from Brazil. And the reason and the way that I could always figure out it was a Brazilian artist was because they were wearing sunglasses in their profile photo.
Really?
Every time. I'm like, that's Brazilian. Yeah, sure enough. Rio. Bahia,
Right.
Sao Paulo.
Right.
Every time. I was never wrong. Really funny. But
Right.
yeah, anyway, there's lots of talented producers now. It's changing. Like there was talented producers before, but I don't think maybe Brazil had like a network or like a production network or a production community that kind of helped level up the skills in the production. But it does now. There's great records that come from, there's really, really strong, very, very playable songs that come from consistently from Brazil. And I like it. I think it's exciting.
There's this kid from Curitiba called G Felix that I think Lee Fuzz just put in a record, and they played at John and Lee. They played at your show in Arizona, and they played that track, and it was huge. And been playing everywhere
Nice.
since then.
What's his name?
G Felix. Felix.
G Felix. Oh, okay, nice. I'm not sure if I know him.
It's repopulate Mars. He's from Curitiba.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of really talented producers. One of the there's a video that just keeps coming up on all of these like dance music Instagram posts of me playing Pimpo Gamma. Let's play it again.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, he's been around for a while, hasn't he?
He has.
Yeah. And there's a video of me playing one of those songs, and it just keeps just going round and round on the internet. It keeps getting recycled, put on TikTok, and I'm always seeing myself tagged in it. I always think about him and Brazilian.
Are you on
Brazilian
TikTok?
Producer. No. Fuck that. That just seems like so much work. Are you?
I mean, you don't have kids yet. So I had to get on it to see what was going on, and it's 99% trash.
I love it.
It's horrible.
How are
My
the kids?
love it. It's like they love it. And Catarina said hi. I told them I was going to do this with you, and she said hi.
Oh, I love it. Well, say hi to the kids.
She's gonna be 12.
Joanna.
And Franco's gonna be 10.
Mamma mia!
What about you?
It's crazy. Yeah, all good. I must have bad aim.
Only dogs?
Still no kids.
Just dogs.
2 dogs.
Shooting blanks? Are you
2
shooting
dogs.
blanks?
Maybe. Who knows? Where are you? Come here, Alfie. You got to see this one. This one looks like an Ewok. Come here. But yeah, he'll maybe come up. He's just looking at me downstairs with lots of confusion.
Is it a Shih Tzu?
Pekingese. Alfie, come here. I don't think he understands. Whatever. He doesn't have much going on up top. So yeah.
All right, man. So thank you very much for doing this. It's been great.
My pleasure.
Great to catch up always. I think
Yeah.
we still have a lot of stuff that we didn't talk about. that we can
It's all good.
you could come back to remember that leg show that I did.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And I'm
maybe
happy.
maybe
I'm
when
happy
you
you're doing it.
guys when you guys come back here in Brazil, we can do it in person.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
Yeah,
And
that'd be great.
you're still in Sao Paulo, right?
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah. And
the same
hopefully,
apartment. Live in the same place that you visited me last time.
okay, cool. Yeah, it's I hope it's soon. It's always nice to see you, and yeah, I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on here.
So are you gonna do
And say
like
hi.
a video shoot right now?
Yeah, we're doing. We just announced a show in. Well, Fish and I just announced a show in Denver. We're doing. We're outside of the Denver Coliseum. And it's got like we can have up to 20,000 people there. So I mean, it's got the potential of being a pretty big show. I mean, you got to sell 20,000 tickets, so I don't even know. Listen, if we undersell it, it'll be a socially distanced show. Okay. I've got all
Because of
the
COVID,
excuses
yeah.
lined up. Yeah, it's COVID. It's just ruined everything. And so we're gonna try and go film a little skit to announce the show, because we're two fucking idiots and we want to go and be idiots on camera for a minute.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So
It's a promoter's
so,
dream.
yeah, I mean, it's just like it's fun. It's fun to do. It just breaks up I wouldn't normally do this for me. Fish probably wouldn't do it for him, but when we're doing it together, it's like, fuck it, might as well. We're just having a laugh. So,
All right, man. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again
my pleasure.
soon.
My pleasure. All right, Silvio. I'll speak to you soon.
Next time we'll do this in person.
Say hi to Paolo and Charlie. Yeah, say hi to him.
We'll do.
All right, take it
Bye,
easy.
man.
Bye.